somebody work with him, and he would climb up into the pocket like Drew Brees. He feel the pressure. He step up in the pocket, and he is the open receiver. So by that point, he progressed as a passer. So, but in terms of McCray, I think it was a bad idea unless someone advised him and told him to do that.
I'm sorry, folks. We had a little bit of technical issues, but we're those who watching us live. Um, welcome to the Southern Baller Show. And we were just talking, and my StreamYard bumped us off live, so I apologize, Coach. You was going in, and we wasn't even live yet, so my apologies.
That's cool, bro. That's cool.
So those who are just now watching us, I asked Coach, what do you think of BeSean McCray entering the transfer portal? Those who don't know, BeSean McCray was the Southern Jaguars quarterback in the SWAC conference. Good athlete, but there was a lot of complaints from the Southern fan base that Bubba McDaniel should have started, was the better quarterback than BeSean McCray. There were sayings that the reason why he was even starting because his parents were friends with Coach Dooley. But it looks like he's in the transfer portal now. So again, I'm sorry, Coach. Just for the people that's now joining us, can you give us a summarization of what you just said? My apologies, Coach.
No, it's all good, bro. It's no problem. This what I do. All right. First of all, to everyone that's been rocking with us since day one and been supporting us. Happy New Year's to everyone. Hoping y'all having a blessed and prosperous New Year thus far. And
Yes, sir.
In terms of the BeSean McCray situation, I mean, it's interesting because last year when Coach Rollins, who was Southern's interim coach after Coach Odoms, once he left, Jordan Lewis entered the transfer portal, and excuse me, Jordan Lewis was a much better player. I mean, he had a much better junior season than he had senior season. I mean, he struggled this year as a senior, but he had an excellent junior season. And the season he had last year was much better than the season that BeSean McCray had this season. And the thing that's interesting is, I've been saying since the start of the season that, not since the start of the season, but since that Texas Southern game, when Southern played against Texas Southern in Texas, I've been saying ever since that point, I'm like, Clinton Bubba McDaniel is better than BeSean McCray. BeSean McCray is a very good athlete. He reminds me a lot of Ladarius Skelton. And for those individuals that don't know, Ladarius Skelton was a Southern starting quarterback year before last, and he started part of the season last year until Clinton Bubba McDaniel just beat him out for the job. So he's like a carbon copy of Ladarius Skelton. And the crazy thing about it is both of them are JC transfers. Both of them played in junior college. And if you look at their huddle footage from junior college, they both look all world. But once they both got to Southern, they both essentially were glorified running backs playing quarterback. And, I've been saying it most of the year that Clinton Bubba McDaniel should have been starting over BeSean McCray. But even with that being said, BeSean McCray, he's like a raised shirt sophomore. And Clinton Bubba McDaniel was a raised shirt senior. So he was a grad senior. He already graduated. And that was his last year eligibility. So what's the point in essentially starting the entire season and getting to the SWAC championship game, even though Clinton McDaniel should have started in the SWAC championship game? Essentially, he played the whole season, and he garnered a lot of experience. Now, once the season over, he enters the transfer portal. So the thing I was telling my brother is, unless Coach Dooley told him, hey, it'll be in your best interest to enter the transfer portal, I think it's a bad move because, like I said, last year this time, Jordan Lewis entered the transfer portal. And like Coach Prime told his J-State players, look, you don't need to just jump into the transfer portal without somewhere to land. I mean, if you enter the transfer portal, unless someone kind of talked to you like under the radar, under the table, and told you, hey, we'll be interested in you coming to our particular school, unless someone told you that, or unless Coach Dooley gave him that advice, I think that's a bad move. because I mean, even though I really felt and believed that Leonard Bubba McDaniel was the better option as a starter, I mean, BeSean McCray is a good athlete. I mean, he led Southern in both rushing and passing. And even though, I say all the time he's a glorified running back playing quarterback, I mean, he's still talented and he's still serviceable. But there's levels to this. Leonard
Yes,
Bubba
sir.
McDaniel is a guy that could win you a SWAC championship, and BeSean McCray is a guy that can get you to a SWAC championship. He has experience. He started the entire year. I mean, even if it was a situation where Southern would do the same thing they did with Darius Skelton, because I say all the time, like, BeSean McCray is a carbon copy of Darius Skelton. They did the same thing they did for Darius Skelton and John Lampley. Darius Skelton was the glorified running back playing quarterback. In fact, at one point, year before last, Southern had made him a kick returner when Glenn Bowman McDaniel beat him out for the starting job. So that's how good an athlete he was. And they made John Lampley, they would alternate series. Like, Darius Skelton would play like 3 series, and John Lampley would play like a series or 2. So if they did that type of thing with him and Harold Blood, I think that'll be cool. And I think with that type of now, I'm not saying that could win you a SWAC championship, but I think BeSean McCray is good enough to get Southern back to another SWAC championship, because guess what? He did it, and Ladarius Skelton did it, and they both. I mean, don't get me wrong. The offensive line probably not going to be as good as it was this past season, and is as good as the season was when Ladarius Skelton led him to a SWAC championship. And the defense might not be as good either. But even with that being said, he's a serviceable starting quarterback. I think he can get you back to a SWAC championship game. I don't think he can win you one, but I think he could get you to that point. So unless somebody advised him to do that, I think it was a very bad move for him into the transfer portal.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. Okay, a lot of static. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. Regarding the BeSean McCray situation and his move, on the motives. But since we had little technical issues, I first want to say shout out to the LDBC. Welcome who just joined us. Thank you guys for joining. Hope you guys are having a blessed Sunday. But going on to the question, we're going to move on to the next topic, Coach. Who do you think he made the decision on his own, or was it because of your Southern fan base wanting Bubba McDaniel? Because every HBCU show, from Off Script, all a lot of shows who support LDBCs or talk about LDBCs were saying that BeSean McCray isn't it. Basically, Bubba McDaniel should have started from the jump. Do you think it was because of that, or it was Coach Dooley made this decision, or his parents, or it could have been anything? What is your opinion on that, Coach?
I mean, it's difficult to say, but in terms of the reason why he was the starter, I mean, and you got to realize, I tell you this all the time, like on an HBCU level, Southern's fan base is the equivalent to maybe like the University of Texas, or maybe like a Notre Dame, or maybe like Nebraska. It's one of these teams that, has like a rabid fan base. They want to compete. Not compete. They want to win a championship like literally every single year. And, I know people that literally go to every single Southern home game, and there's other individuals that go to like literally every Southern game. So, I mean, it's been obvious since the Texas Southern game that he shouldn't have been starting. And we knew it was more behind the scenes in that. And I gotta give you credit, bro. You was like, Coach, it maybe it's more to the situation than we know. And so, sure enough, just like you said, hey, it was a conflict of interest. So with that being
Yes, sir.
said, I don't think. I mean, to me at this point, you're too far down the road to say, all right, well, hey, now we need to part ways. So I'm thinking maybe someone in his family or someone told him. But if Coach Dooley told him to transfer to get the heat off of him, like essentially he's throwing him under the bus, because like Coach Prime, I don't know if you saw in Coach Prime when they won their last regular season game against against Southern in terms of winning the SWAC championship. And he basically announced he was going to the University of Colorado University. And he was going to become their head coach, he talked to the players. He was like, hey, we're going to talk to y'all individually in terms of, we don't want y'all to just rush and just jump into the transfer portal without having something concrete and a soft place to land. So I think in his situation, the reason why it's bad is because first, it was a conflict of interest for the reason why he was starting. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's talented, not talented. He's a talented athlete, but he should not have been a starting quarterback. And it's no two ways about it. Even if they would have started him and Bubba McDaniel and say, well, hey, we're going to have him come in like every third or fourth series, or maybe have him play a series every night, I would have been cool with that. But for him to be just a flat-out starter, I think that was the wrong decision. And the thing about it is, even when it was obvious that he shouldn't have been starting, in the Texas Southern game, he stuck with him. He stuck with him the first time they played at J-State in the Boombox Classic, and he stuck with him to a certain point in the SWAC championship game until he realized, like, hey, without him, we have no chance of winning. Let's throw in Howard Blood, and then he didn't play well. Then he put McCray back. Put McCray back in. He didn't play well. By the time he put McDaniel in the game, they were so far behind the A-ball that Southern had no chance of digging themselves out the hole. So the point I'm trying to make is maybe it was some kind of outside pressure from maybe fan base, boosters, alum. That maybe Coach Dooley did tell him it would be in his best interest to transfer. But even with that being said, under the circumstances, I think he's in a bad spot. He's in a bad situation. He should have stayed at Southern. And let's know about and beat him and Harold Blood out. I think he still, to be truthful, I still think he probably should be starting at this point because you've already gone this far with him. Even if you got to play all three quarterbacks or you play 2 to 3, I think him being out there just on a limb, I think it's a bad look.
Yeah, it's definitely a bad look. But he is talented, so I'm sure a ball club would like him. But I'm not sure if there's anybody in the SWAC. To be honest with you, I think it may be.
I don't mean to
Well,
cut
if
you off,
it
bro,
is anybody, go ahead, Coach.
I don't think it's in his best interest to transfer under the circumstance. It's like the way it kind of feels like he's being thrown under the bus, even though he really shouldn't have been starting to begin with. The thing is, maybe another SWAC or MEAC team, if they don't pick him up, I don't see him going anywhere. So that's why I think it was in his best interest to stay at Southern. And you rode him to this point. Why not just keep on with him? It's a bad look to me. I don't know.
I hear you. You going in with that's finish what you started. You might as well. But if the young man, doing what he thinks in his best interest, then good luck to him. He sure is talented. But if he gets picked up by a SWAC team, I don't know if it's going to be a starting quarterback, unless a squad does that 2 quarterback system, where the second quarterback comes in certain plays or running plays since he's a running quarterback. But we'll see. Good luck to that young man. Moving on to the next topic. Before we go any further, just want to say it's been hot. If you're living under the rock, NFL safety Damar Hamlin had was it this Thursday, Coach? This past Thursday?
No,
Or
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
No, it was this past Monday on the Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football. Thank you, Coach. Monday Night Football. Damar Hamlin. I Damar Hamlin basically. Excuse the static, guys. Damar Hamlin basically went in for a tackle. T. Higgins made the tackle, stood up, and just fell out. Basically, they're saying that he had some type of cardiac arrest, something dealing with his heart. He wasn't responding at first. Now over the week, he's now responding. He's even talking. So continue to send your prayers, because even though he's okay, we just hope this young man is able to finish his dreams as playing football. So pray for DeMar Hamlin, number 3. Your take on that, Coach?
Well, it reminded me so much of because I told you about this when Reggie Lewis was playing for the Boston Celtics and he collapsed during the game. It reminded me so much of that situation. Whether it's that or whether it's like Hank Gathers collapsing on the court during the game. It reminds me so much of those situations, and in those particular instances, more than anything, you want the young man to be okay, and whether he plays another down of football again ever, more than anything, you just want him, to still be alive and him to live a healthy, prosperous, productive life. You don't want him to be confined to you know, confined in any way. You want him to live a, happy, healthy life. And I'm gonna just be truthful. The man, I'm glad he's doing better. I'm still praying for him. I hope he has a speedy recovery. But just to kind of be truthful, the probability of him playing another down of football, is extremely highly unlikely. He'll probably never play again. So more than
Oh
any,
man,
so more than anything, I'm just hoping the NFL. I know they had a GoFundMe. I think from what I understand, they raised like $10 million for him or something along those lines, from what I heard. But the thing about it is, I hope whether it's Roger Goodell and NFL owners or the owners of the Bill or the owner of the Bills or whoever, somebody needs to step up and because his medical bills are going to be through the roof. I mean, but above anything else, you want him to be happy and be healthy and be whole. And once we establish that he's healthy, this is only his second year in the NFL,
yeah,
so he doesn't he's not into the NFL pension, so he's not gonna get a pension. He's not gonna have any way to support himself and his family, and his medical bills are gonna be through the roof. So more than anything, hopefully, whether it's Roger Goodell, whether it's a lot of those NFL owners getting together, whether it's players, whether it's the owner of the Bills, hopefully someone steps up and pays his medical bills and give him some kind of maybe trust fund or whatever, so he could just live a healthy life because he the probability of him playing football again is extremely highly unlikely.
yeah. I didn't want to hear that, but like Mr. Shelton just put in the chat, his life is more than football. Let me um put in basically give a shout out. Um, Uncle T, what's up? Thank you for coming by. I appreciate you. J Bar, salute to you, King. Thank you for stopping by. You said you got it, nephew. David Scott, my LDBC brother. Salute Jared 011 Green, just dropping in, going back to my cousin's B-Day party. All right, when you enjoy yourself, happy birthday to your cousin. I appreciate you even thinking about us during your cousin's birthday. I appreciate you, brother. My brother, Brent Fox, love you, brother. He said, salute family,
Salute, bro.
Jared 011 Green, Coach 67 Sports and LDBC in chat. I appreciate you, man. Thank you, thank you.
Salute, salute.
And Coach and Mr. Shelton agree with you, Coach. He said his life is more important than football. So Mr.
One.
Shelton agrees with you. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is. It is. That was and but some people, and I'm going to slide into the next topic. I hope this, I hate to talk about something negative during this, but is with social media, um some certain people expose themselves by the things that come out of their mouth, or in this case, what they type. But I have to talk about it. Um, Moving on to the next topic, and put the picture up. Skip Bayless. So those of you who don't know, Skip Bayless put in this during this time after while everybody was checking on this young man, making sure because he wasn't even showing signs like I mean he damn near died on the field, Coach.
Yeah,
You know
he
what I mean?
almost did. Yeah, he almost did.
And this fool And if those who can see, I know it's kind of a little fuzzy, but if you can read that, he tweeted, "No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how this late in this season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the um basically to the outcome, which certainly concerns and so which certainly seems so irrelevant." So basically, what he's saying, and I know it's fuzzy, guys. So basically, what he's saying, I understand this young man about to die on this field, but bump that. Continue with the game, man. they they lit his behind up on Twitter and or any Facebook, any Instagram, any social media that was able to get a win of this tweet, and rightfully so. His comment was so insistent. Even and let's say hypothetically, not even hypothetically, but let's just say that he didn't really mean no harm. It was a dumb comment to say during that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So just your thoughts on that, Coach. That teed me
man,
off. But go ahead.
man. First of all, you know, like I said earlier, his Damar Hamlin's life is more important than anything. And me and you talked after the game, and to be truthful, I was watching the Rose Bowl, and then I had professional development the next day. So, I came home and I had some stuff to get ready. So you texted me and you called me. He was like, "Bro, you saw that with the between the Bills and the Bengals?" And I said, "No, bro, what happened?" You said, "Damar Hamlin." I'm like, "Yeah, I know him." And you was like, he tackled T. Higgins, and then he got up and he collapsed. And then you sent me the tweet, and I'm like, I was so heated, bro. I kid you not. And I did a video like the next, like probably maybe about 6, 7 hours later, before I went to school the next morning, right? I did a YouTube video. It's on my channel, right? And later on that day, I did a video about Skip Bayless, and I didn't even upload it because that's how heated I was. I think my video was in poor taste, but I use better judgment. But from my personal opinion, and I don't know for those of you who follow 7 8 Sports TV, if you follow his Patreon, he talked about it, but Skip Bayless like maybe but a few weeks ago. And bro, this guy, first of all, he's an A-class jerk. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but he's a jerk, and he's arrogant. He thinks he knows everything. And the thing that first of all, when people tell you something from the beginning, what what they lead with is how they really feel. So a lot of people that's been coming to his defense, they try to look at the last part of the tweet and use that in his defense. No, when he led with the fact that, hey, the NFL is considering postponing this game, a game of this magnitude this late in the season. So basically, that's what he really felt. He like, forget this young man. This game has playoff implications. It's the Bills and the Bengals. He didn't care about him. I mean, that's the truth. And his track record, it speaks for itself. You know, because I don't know if you watched the show called Pizza. I used to watch it because at the time it was trash. And really, until he got on First Take with Stephen A. Smith, nobody really was checking for Skip Bayless. And the thing that used to make me so mad on First Take is the way he used to just talk about players. He used to talk about Chris Bosh, talk about Terrell Owens, talk about Russell Westbrook, calling him Russell Westbrook, talking about LeBron James. But yet, on the opposite end of the spectrum, we talked about BeSean McCray earlier. Tim Tebow was a D1 Heisman Trophy winning version of BeSean McCray. A
Right.
serviceable passer at best, but a glorified running back playing quarterback. But if you let him tell it, Tim Tebow was the greatest thing ever since sliced bread. I mean, Tim Tebow was a fringe level starting quarterback in the NFL, and arguably LeBron James is like one of the top 5 greatest NBA players ever. But yet you constantly trash and down LeBron James, but you give all the praise in the world to Tim Tebow. And then in addition to that, he just was so harsh on Chris Bosh and and Terrell Owens and Dwight Howard and all of these players, Richard Sherman. And the thing about it is when Jalen Rose and guys like Richard Sherman put him in his place, you know, when it's no fun when the rabbit has a gun. When you're talking about all of these guys, you know, you think you're so right and it's all well and good. But when, Jalen Rose talks about your high school stats and he called you Water Pistol Pete, all of a sudden, hey, that's out of bounds. That's not fair. And I'm like, bro, like every day you sit here, you judge players, you talk harshly about them, you're extremely critical. But when the shoe's on the other foot, it's a problem. So over the years, he's demonstrated that he's a first class jerk. He's arrogant. He's extremely egotistical. And in this particular thing, in this particular instance, that tweet it was in extremely poor taste. Had it been one of his family members or one of his close friends or somebody that was near and dear to him, he could care less about the outcome of the game. But that goes to show you these athletes that he talks about every day on Undisputed, that he really doesn't care about them. It's all about a paycheck. And he really doesn't care about these athletes. And he just thinks he's right about everything. So he could talk about you
Yes,
as
sir.
bad as he wants and as much as he wants. But when you talk about him, it's unfair, it's out of bounds, it's whatever the case may be. So, and that's the reason why I didn't post, the video I had about him. I have another video about him that I'll post later on this evening. But I mean, it was an extremely poor taste. This guy is, they really been campaigning to get him taken off Undisputed. I mean, I don't wish anyone lose their job. I mean, I know he has a multi-million dollar contract with FS1. He can get his money, but my preference would be that they take him off the air because this is absolutely ridiculous at this point. And the whole situation between him and Shannon Sharp, I think that at this point, because Sterling Sharp, it wasn't to the severity of the Mar Hamlin situation, but Sterling Sharp was in a similar situation. And basically, Shannon tried to explain to him, like, hey, the magnitude of this, like football is secondary. He doubled down on his stance. So he
Hmm.
said he's not taking the tweet down. So
Yeah, and
this
that,
is
that
going to show,
goes. That's going to go to my second part of the question. But go ahead, Coach.
but that goes to show you how insensitive he is. He thinks he's
Yes.
right about everything. He's arrogant. He's egotistical. He doesn't care about these athletes, just to be truthful.
No, he don't. He made his living doing this, so Tiger can't change his stripes. But just want to go into the comic session. Um, Francel Productions, OKT. He said ignorance is at an all time high. Yes, it is. Um, Coach um, Mr. Shelton, stupid. He's talking about some old Dracula face. Uh, uh, Brent Fox says, not surprising. Bayless, Colin Coward, Jason Whitlock, Safe Hayden, ASS are all very insensitive regarding the human aspect of professional athletes. And Brent Fox says, give Skip the Kyrie treatment. They're not. And
Yeah,
Uncle T
yeah,
said they're not. They're not. Uh, J Bar said he agree. Um, Brent Fox says, I know they won't. He responded to Uncle T, just putting the energy out there. Hopefully, in some way, he gets back what he gives out. I hope that's the case. Bayless also got himself in trouble about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being a black Muslim back in the day. Yes, he did. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that. He also disgraced the Dallas Morning News for over a decade with his sports articles too. And Skip and Colin Coward will be hosting a new sports show, Mayonnaise Madness. Oh man, and it's getting ridiculous. And just going into the second part of that question, right? So when will Shannon Sharp leave the show Undisputed? Because at first, they were gelling together, and then Skip Bayless showed his stripes, his true colors, and he was Skip Bayless again. You know, a couple of shows, not even, I think sometime last week, uh, uh, Skip Bayless basically insulted Shannon Sharp, saying basically Tom Brady had a better career than you will ever have, and uh, basically he was trying to, insult Shannon Sharp live on air. Hall of Fame tight end. This guy's just a reporter. Um, Jalen, and that's why Jalen Rose insulted him the way he did, as far as being a third string uh, basketball player in high school. Because you talking to these Titans. Ryan, everybody knows in here Ryan Leaf wasn't the best. He's one of the best. I mean, excuse me, he one of the biggest butts in court as far as NFL history. He's up there. But if me and Ryan Leaf have a passing contest, who you think gonna win? I know that. So if I'm ever in Ryan Leaf's presence, I'm not gonna, oh, you suck, you shouldn't. No, this man made it to the NFL. It didn't go exactly what he wanted, the way he wanted, but he made it to the NFL. A lot of people, especially a lot of Americans, need to know that the people that's on the practice squad is way better than you could ever be. That's how talented the NFL is. But people like Skip Bayless, because they do journalism, they think they have the green light to talk about that, to talk insult these athletes like that, and that's why people like Kwame Brown opened up his, got his YouTube page cracking and pushing back because people are tired of it. What is your input on this, Coach?
Well, first of all, just to kind of elaborate on what Brent Fox said, he should get this Kyrie Irving treatment because, they made Kyrie Irving jump through all these hoops. They made him take some kind of like racial sensitivity course and sensitivity training and so on and so forth. If Kyrie Irving had to do that, then guess what? Skip Bayless needs to do that threefold because guess what? He's extremely insensitive, and whether he realizes it or not, like 7-8 says, he's extremely racially insensitive, and because I think he has we did a black nanny or something along those lines. He thinks, he's like, soul brother number one. That's like, a white person telling you, hey, I have black friends. So what? It still doesn't mean you're not a racist, But even with that being said, they initially came together. People don't realize on First Take, one day Shannon was a guest host for Stephen A. Smith. And, they did well on that particular show. And when, Fox gave him the huge money to come to FS1 and do Undisputed, that's why he wanted to bring Shannon with him. That was in the beginning. However, at this point, Shannon has ascended him by leaps and bounds. His YouTube channel, Club Shay Shay, is doing big things. He has sponsorships. He has A-list celebrities on his show. Some of these guys that's on Club Shay Shay on his YouTube channel, they'll never step foot on Undisputed because they don't have no interaction with Skip Bayless. So my personal opinion is I think once his contract is done with FS1 on Undisputed, I think Shannon Sharp is going to bounce. He's going to dip. And he's going to maybe get his own show on another network. Or maybe he's just going to push Club Shay Shay. And to be truthful, in my opinion, I think at this point, I don't watch as much TV as I used to at one point. At one point I used to watch a lot of ESPN, a lot of First Take, and another point, a lot of Undisputed. But I'm at the point now I watch YouTube more than anything. So for someone like me, I'll watch Club Shay Shay before I watch Undisputed at this point, and to be truthful, the topics on Undisputed, they're pretty much the same topics all the time anyway. They talk about the Lakers. They talk about Tom Brady, ad nauseum. They talk about, the Bucks. It's the same rinse, repeat cycle every day. And, for him to insult Shannon Sharp, this man was probably arguably the greatest NFL tight end of all time. He's a Hall of Famer. And for you to tell him, like, you jealous of Tom Brady, basically you jealous of him. You will never, beat what he is. Basically told him like, hey, Skip, I'm in the effing Hall of Fame in the NFL. Like after doing something like that, I thought we were friends, and I think that's the thing that Shannon is really coming to the realization, bro. You really not his friend. I mean, y'all at best y'all associates. You think y'all friends, you think y'all brothers, but he really doesn't value you that way. For him to tell you that to your face, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know when you in the heat of a debate, you might say things that you regret. If you have some argument, disagreement with somebody, it might get a little heated. You might say something you don't like,
Right.
every once in a while. But for him to cross that line, bro, it shows that y'all were never really truly friends, and he doesn't respect you the way you think he should. And that's the reason why, Jalen Rose went in on him. The reason why Richard Sherman went in on him is because they know what he really is. They see him for who he really is. There's the expression. When a person shows you are who they are, believe them. And I think Shannon is really starting to come to that realization at this point. So
I agree.
I think he's just about done with Undisputed. As soon as his
I
contract
agree. Yes, I think like you said, I'm so and I'm glad that you mentioned that his show Club Shay Shay on YouTube is, I mean, he don't need Undisputed. Because if
not
you
at all.
those who watch the show Club Shay Shay on YouTube, it's excellent. His interviews is excellent. Um uh Go watch it and you'll see what I'm talking about. He don't need Skip Bayless. So go and looking at the comic section, Francel Production says getting paid, bro. Basically, yeah, he getting paid, but he definitely needs to um basically I mean, it's up to him if he want to decide to take that type of punishment. And if he does, then I'll kind of lose a little bit of respect for Shannon Sharp. And I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan. I remember him winning that championship in 2000 with us. So but I always will respect Shannon Sharp, but that'll make me kind of if he still takes that um you know, that disrespect. Brent Fox said that was completely ignorant. It was. Sharp is getting paid. He'll put up with it, Brent. Um, yeah, like I said, if he does that, I'll lose respect a little bit. He should correct Skip. He should. He definitely should. Sharp makes Undisputed. Yes. He definitely does. Like people make fun of how Shannon Sharp talks and everything, but um, I mean, Shannon Sharp is very entertaining. Yeah, but yeah, this is what I get Skip Bayless out of here, man. Definitely, all the way out of here. And going to the final topic of the show, and put my little pick up there. How I should say, how do you think Ed Reed would do at Bethune Cookman? Coach, can you hear me?
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, I think for people that think he's gonna win a SWAC championship, win a Black National Championship in like, a year, those expectations are unrealistic. I think the thing people really need to realize is that Coach Prime is he's an anomaly. And you got to realize in his first season at Jackson State, they struggled. Because I remember when they played against Southern, Ladarius Skelton just ran all over him. John Lampley, he looked like the second coming to Sam George in that particular game. So, they struggled in that spring season. The first season he was at J State. And then eventually, that second year, they ended up winning SWAC. And then they ended up winning SWAC again this year. So, but for a coach to have that type of turnaround right away, is not common for one, and second of all, you know, again, let me reemphasize the fact that Coach Prime is an anomaly in terms of his charisma, his personality, his persona. You know, the type of swag that he has, the confidence. You know, there's an expression. You know, he's the kind of guy that other men want to be and women want to be with. He's that kind of guy in terms of when he steps into a room, he lights the room up, and people just gravitate towards him. So, in terms of that personality, Ed Reed doesn't have that Coach Prime type personality in terms of jump off the screen at you for one, and then second of all, people don't realize. You know, we talked about it in terms of him being at Prime Academy and other school he coached at in Texas. Like he had, even though it wasn't on the college level, he had head coaching experience prior to this. You know, from what I'm understanding, that Ed Reed was in some kind of advisory position at the U. So he's never been a head coach yet. And I mean, I know somebody like Eddie George, he's doing a decent job at Tennessee State. But I mean, it's not a you just automatically just stand up and start running type process. You kind of gradually have to crawl, and then you have to stand up and walk, and then eventually you get to running. You don't just run straight out the gate. So it's a gradual process, you know.
Yeah, it definitely is, and and I agree. Give Ed Reed some time. His first few years may be rough, like Hugh Jackson was at Grambling. But I think Hugh Jackson and next year you're gonna see an improvement over there in Grambling. But but back to Ed Reed. A lot of people, I heard a couple of shows, YouTube shows regarding this topic, and they're saying their issue is why aren't Ed Reed, you know, this big in the news or in the sport, in sports news about him taking over Bethune Cookman, Hall of Famer safety, one of the best to ever do it. I think the only people that can probably touch him is Troy Polamalu and um, what's that safety, that old school safety that played with the 49ers back in the day?
Ronnie Lott.
Ronnie Lott. Troy Polamalu and Ronnie Lott. Um, so you got Hall of Famer coach basically taking over a Bethune Cookman, Florida area where he played ball at, and where a lot of the Florida football heads love him, especially if you love the University of Miami, the U. He was a legend. Oh, um, I mean, this should be new. This should be news all over the place. But the problem is, like you said, Coach, Ed Reed is not as flashy as Coach Prime, but I think he's going to be the type of person, because he is Ed Reed. Um, because like you don't talk about cornerbacks unless you talk about Coach Prime, right? You don't talk about safety unless you talk about Ed Reed. So even this younger generation know about Ed Reed. So I think his name alone is going to attract a lot of 4-star, maybe even a 5-star. Of course, we're yet to see that in the news for Bethune Cookman, but I think it's going to happen because I'm just saying Ed Reed's the man. Like I said, he doesn't have to be as flashy. You know what I mean? You ever know those dudes that just got it? You know what I mean? They don't probably talk as flashy, or they don't talk as um not the handsomest with it, but they got it, man. They just got that swag. Their presence is, I mean, it attracts a lot of people as far as football. You know what I mean? So I think Bethune Cookman will be all right, and I'm excited to see um what will happen um with Bethune Cookman as far as getting talent in there, because they had a rough year this year, Coach.
With them being on the east side of the SWAC, they really didn't get as much exposure I think gradually he's going to improve the program, but like we said, like Coach Prime is an anomaly, so I don't think he's going to go into that same level of attention. And if don't get me wrong, I know he doesn't have the coaching experience Coach Richardson had at the time, but Coach Richardson won the SWAC championship his first year at Southern. So I mean, don't get me wrong, I know he had a senior heavy team, but I think in a few years, I think Coach Ed Reed, I think he can do some things at Bethune Cookman, and I think more than likely, he's from Louisiana. He played in that River Parish area.
Yeah,
I think he's
Rose,
gonna,
Louisiana. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm thinking he's gonna come back to Louisiana and recruit some players also. So it kind of, I mean, I don't know, I kind of disagree with you a little bit in terms of him getting maybe like
It's
five
okay.
star caliber, 5-star caliber players, but I think he's gonna get some good, decent players. I think he's gonna grow that program eventually, and we'll see. I mean, I'm not willing to venture out and say that him and Hugh Jackson is gonna have Coach Prime type success. I think that kind of remains to be seen. Especially when you look at guys like Charlie Weiss and Lane Kiffin and those type of guys that had NFL experience, as head coaches in college, and even Stump Mitchell in the SWAC. So everybody can't be Coach Prime. So I mean, we'll see. I
I
I
hear you.
I mean, I wish. I mean, to be truthful, I wish them all well, for the exception of when they play against Southern.
Of course. Those who don't know, Coach 67 Sports TV is a Southern alum, so he's definitely gonna cap a lot of times for Southern. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good. It's all good. But going piggybacking off of what you were saying, he might not get the 5-star, but I think Ed Reed, because those who don't know, Ed Reed was a 3-star coming out of Louisiana, and Miami was able to um, recruit him, and the rest is history. Him and Sean Taylor over there at Miami. Um, that secondary was scary, but I think he'll be able to have the eyes for a dog. You know what I mean? The recruit dogs, like people going after this 5-star. He can, because he was a 3-star back in the day. He'll see a 2-star, 3-star, or people, somebody who's under the radar. He said, "That's a dog right there." You know what I mean? And of course, everybody wants to go after the 5-star, but you know, I think Ed Reed's going to be good as far as bringing in talent. I think he's gonna do good. Like you said, just one thing I do agree with. He may have couple painful seasons. I don't wish that, but him cut his teeth as a full-time college coach, because he does have coach, not head coach. I appreciate you stopping by Francel Productions, Uncle T. I appreciate it. Um, but I think he'll do good. I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be all right. Just on his name alone. Um, because he was on the Miami staff. As far as one of the coaches on that Miami staff, so I think coaching wise, I think he'll be all right. One way to find out. One thing I just want to piggyback off this topic because of Ed Reed. Um, you know, this is what not Ed Reed, but Deion Sanders meant as far as him open up the gate for players like Eddie George, NFL coaches like Hugh Jackson, um, now Ed Reed. That's what he meant as far as him open up the gate for other coaches to come in and coach these HBCUs. Um, um, former caliber of players like Ed Reed or Deion Sanders. That's what Coach Prime meant. And now I think we're going to see more of this. You're going to see probably Ray Lewis out there trying to coach. I think Marshall Faulk was trying to get the Southern job. Wasn't he, Coach?
Yes, he was. He was in the running, but he had a situation with NFL Network. I don't know what came of that particular situation, but that pretty much because supposedly he was in the running for Southern job. He was in the top 3, but that's in him. But once the NFL Network situation came about, the Southern and other school, they pretty much lost interest in him at that point.
Oh man, well, basically, sorry, that's very unfortunate for Marshall Faulk, but basically, you get my point. Is I think the Coach Prime people are mad at Coach Prime for leaving, but I believe he opened the door for those caliber of former players and that who have coaching experience going to take a crack at coaching these young brothers at these HBCUs. I'm even proud of Mike Mentor at over there coaching at Campbell. Mike Mentor was a heck of a safety for the Carolina Panthers in his day. Multiple years being the Pro Bowl snub, but that's what I'm talking about. Coach Prime opened up the door even more for people like Ed Reed. Yeah, I would even go to be brave and go as far as saying that if it wasn't for Coach Prime coaching at Jackson State or Jackson State taking a chance on him, Ed Reed doesn't happen at Bethune Cookman. That's what I believe. What's your take on that, Coach?
I agree 100%. And, I think not just with that point, but the overall point you made that he opened the doors up for somebody like an Ed Reed, like an Eddie George, Marshall Faulk and Ray Lewis, they all expressed interest. So he opened the doors for those type of guys, in addition to Hugh Jackson. So he opened doors for, like you said, the Ed Reed, the Ray Lewis, the Eddie George, the Marshall Faulk, the Hugh Jackson. He opened all of those doors, in the HBCU realm for those guys. So he definitely was a trailblazer in that regard.
He definitely was. He definitely was. I just hope Ed Reed does a wonderful job at the Bethune Cookman. Of course, me being a Baltimore Raven fan and Ed Reed being that guy for us back in the day, man. He when you talk about ball hawk, he was a definition of ball hawk. If you have ball hawk in a football dictionary, Ed Reed's name beside ball hawk. That's how good he was, man. I mean, but like you said, Ed Reed is not. Ed Reed is not. Ed Reed is not far from having a bad season because it happened to former NFL players like Stelp Mitchell and other players, who tried to. Even they may have not had the careers of Ed Reed or Deion Sanders, but they were former NFL players that tried to come down and coach as HBCUs, and I go as far as they had horrible seasons. So that Ed Reed is not far from having, he might have that type of season, but I'm just wish he has a very wonderful season for Bethune Cookman, make the SWAC very competitive against the Jackson States and the Southerns and the Gramblings. I think Grambling, I think Eddie George, but Eddie George, I see Eddie George, but Eddie George is play at Tennessee State. I don't think he's in the SWAC. No, he's not in the SWAC. But I want him to have a good season 2. So you're right, J Bar. Even if he's not in the SWAC, he's still HBCU coach. So I want him to have a wonderful season. So yeah, it was one way to find out. This was very interesting. This is very interesting. But Coach, any final thoughts before we go, and anything you want to say, or anything we didn't really touch on?
All right. We appreciate everybody for stopping by. Y'all go to my YouTube channel, Coach 67 Sports TV. This evening, I'm uploading a video talking about the Skip Bayless situation with DeMar Hamlin. I already have a video addressing the BeSean McCray situation, also a situation addressing the Ed Reed situation, and in addition to that, talking about Kayshon Boutte. For those individuals that don't know, he was like the best wide receiver for LSU this year. The numbers didn't reflect it because, from what I'm understanding, I think he got in the doghouse early in the year. I don't think he had any catches when Southern and LSU played at Tiger Stadium, at Death Valley. I have a video addressing that situation. It's quite a huge scandal surrounding Kayshon Boutte. Supposedly, he was supposed to stay for his senior year at LSU, and then the scandal happened. And then, right before the scandal broke, he decided to enter the NFL draft. So I have a video addressing that. I have multiple videos, boxing videos. So y'all go check out the channel, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate everyone for stopping through. Hopefully, thus far, y'all having a blessed and prosperous new year. And hopefully, y'all have a blessed, phenomenal evening. Peace and blessings. I'll catch y'all on the rebound. And shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC. Y'all have a blessed evening. We'll catch y'all next week.
Yeah, I second that. Thank you, Coach. Please support that brother. Like I said, he's a former coach. Well, he's still a coach. I'm sorry. He's still a coach doing his thing, coaching these young folk out here. So he know what he talking about, so support his channel. Thank you, Brent Fox, for stopping by. Great show, gentlemen. Salute LDBC family. Yes, sir. Thank you, brother. Love you, brother, for stopping by. Love you. J Bar, thank you, sir. Francel Productions, Mr. Shelton. Thank you all. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. Y'all have a blessed day. Please like and share the video. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Be blessed.